What's up, mother truckers? What's up, mother truckers? Ah, ah, bah, 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 bah. All right, what is good? What am I live on TikTok? Did it go through? Shit, what's popping? What is popping? We are live, baby. We are back. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. It's your boy. Let's freaking go. I'm super excited for today's episode. I'm going to be diving deep into my story, and I think it's important. You know, I had a conversation with my coach last weekend down in Miami, and he was like, "Yo, like, how often do you talk about your story?" Actually, you know what? Was that in Miami or I don't remember. But regardless, I had the conversation and I was like, you know what? I probably should do a little bit more of that because, people like go on social media and they only share what they want to share, right? Because talking about your personal life and all that shit can be a little daunting. But I feel like it's important because otherwise you just scroll and like you just like consuming surface level content. You don't really know much about the person. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, you know what? I want to be unique and I want to bring a different approach to this game. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And we got 66 amazing people here live. Oh, 71 on TikTok. We got another couple here throughout Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And I'm super excited to deliver you guys some value with today's podcast episode. So without further ado, let's get right into it in 3, 2, and 1. What is going on, fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Shift Your Mind, Change Your Life podcast. This is your favorite motherfucking coach, Coach Out. Let's get it. In today's episode, I'm going to be getting vulnerable with you guys. And truthfully, this is something that is hard for me to talk about. I don't really open up often. So today's episode is going to be different. And I want to talk about my story. And I want you guys to truthfully understand like who I am, where I've been, what I've struggled with, because I think that'll give you a deeper look into my life and how I got to where I am today. And not to say that I'm satisfied by any means because we're just getting started, but I've been able to cover a lot of ground in just a few years from some of the things that we're going to be talking about in today's episode. So from there, I think you'll be able to resonate more with my page and my content and then be able to take action on what we're speaking about all the time. Like I was mentioning before we started this, it's so easy to go on social media and scroll and just consume surface level content. And the fitness industry is saturated, and I'm trying to really be someone who is unique and encourage other people to live their best life. And that's really what I'm about. Now, to give you some context, I am 26 years old and I grew up on Long Island, New York, and I recently just moved to Florida because of the courage to start my own business. Now, it's funny because growing up I always wanted to live in Florida, and here I am, but then I'm always so fixated on, well, what do I want next? But oftentimes it's just really being thankful for what you have in the present moment. And it's just like continuously thinking about that is maybe another topic for another day. But to stay on track with what we're talking about is to give you background and context on who I am. And growing up, I always wanted to be a baseball player. That's what I thought I was going to be. And up until 2019, that's what I thought my life was. And the sad reality was that didn't work out, and it's difficult sometimes to pivot. And when I say pivot, I mean, make a change, like we get so fixated on this one aspect of our lives and we continuously program this story into ourselves to create this belief that we're this type of person. But the question that I always ask with my clients and on this podcast is just like, well, why can't you change that? Right? Like so often we continuously tell ourselves, well, I'm this type of person, right? Like I'm not a morning person. I can't do this. Well, why can't you? Really, you're just telling yourself that, and you could change that right now if you wanted to. But to stay on track with what we're talking about here is basically just telling you guys that I was just an average dude, like, growing up playing football, baseball, making friends, like hanging out, doing the typical shit. And all the memories that I created, I wouldn't trade for the life of me. And I spent majority of my summers working beach jobs because I lived close to the beach and restaurants and doing all those things. And I've worked pretty much every job you can imagine, from being a bellhop to a deli guy cutting meats to delivering pizza, all that shit. And to give you even more insight, I was a terrible student in high school. I was a C student, barely getting by. I actually went to summer school for geometry. I failed geometry and Spanish twice, and I was almost dead last in my graduating class. And it's just comical when I think back to that because I had no clue what I wanted to do with myself for majority of my life. And when I do think back to those conversations, with my friends and family throughout that time, it does upset me because everyone's talking about their college and their major and what jobs they're going to do and all these things, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And, it was difficult to navigate through that because I felt like everyone had it figured out but me. But I always had this core belief within myself, regardless of me feeling like an outcast, regardless of me feeling like I didn't fit in, I always had this one thing, and that was that I wanted to help other people. I'm going to say that again. This core belief has stuck with me for my entire life. I've always wanted to help other people. And it's funny because once the pandemic hit, I really had some time to reflect. My construction job that I was working during that time just called me up one day and was like, hey, we have to cut your pay in half. And I was like, well, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, sorry, budget cuts. We have to cut your pay in half. And in that moment, I realized, well, nothing is safe, right? And why shouldn't I bet on myself and do something that I want to do? Like I knew that growing up, I didn't have a firm understanding of what I wanted for myself, but I knew I didn't really want to work a corporate job and do the 9 to 5. And I did for a while because obviously I had responsibilities financially, with bills and rent and insurance and all that shit. You guys could understand that. But it just got to a point where I was like, man, nothing's fucking safe. So why would I not bet on myself and do something that I want for me? And in the process of doing that, try and help other people. And that's what I'm trying to allow you guys to understand with today's episode is truthfully, when you bet on yourself, I think that's where everything stems from, right? What do you guys think of that so far? If you're here, hey, Ant, what's up, brother? You're not average. I love you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you guys are getting value so far, drop some fire in the chat box. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is so far. I want to keep this rolling because your boy is pressed for time. I have to shoot at 2 o'clock and I have to drive a half hour. So we're going to fucking hammer this one out. I really want to get deep with you guys and share this story because I think, like I said earlier in the episode, that it needs to be talked about. Like there's no reason for you to come on and try and listen to my content if you don't know who I am. So I want you to understand that I don't feel like I'm special or better or more talented than anybody. I simply just put work in every single day to move the needle for myself. And that's really the goal of today's episode, is to shine some light on that. Like oftentimes we're more than capable of getting all the things that we want in life, but usually we self-sabotage. And I myself am guilty of that at times as well. I'm not perfect, but like self-sabotage has killed more dreams than anything. And like the title of this is that it's hard for me to talk about. I've never shared this before because it is. And that's why, maybe my tone of voice is a little lower than usual. But I think this is really something that could benefit a lot of you guys because it's so easy to listen to other people in our lives. Like after my construction job cut my pay, I went and got my real estate license because I thought that's what my parents wanted me to do, or that's what was cool in society, and it took a lot of self-development and work on myself to really take that leap and have that courage and faith to become a trainer and a coach and bet on myself. And honestly, I had no fucking clue what I was doing when I started. I didn't. And that's the sad reality. But I think a lot of us are reluctant to accept that we're going to suck at something for a while. But I truthfully believe if you can embrace that and do the best that you can every single day, and then if you deliberately show up, then over time, well, why can't you get the results that you want? Right? Like it's very simple, man. And if you're a client of mine listening to this, you understand that, so like from there, after I got my pay cut and I was just in the gym training and I saw the other guys in there and I was like, yo, like how does this work? Like, how do I do this? And then from there, I just got certified and I haven't looked back since. And from that point, then I quickly realized, well, this in-person training thing was broken, and long story short, I was connected with one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. Shout out Brian Mark for joining his coaching program and learning all the tools, strategies, and tactics that I've now been able to implement into my business and life. And it's been absolutely incredible because we're changing a ton of lives on a daily basis. And I truthfully believe the model that we have is the best that the fitness industry has to offer. It's the most cost effective, it's the most amount of value. You could do it on your own time, like anywhere, anytime in the world. And if you're my client listening to this, you know that. And it's not just fitness and a workout program, nutrition, like that's surface level bullshit. And that's cool and all. But ultimately, it's the type of person that you're becoming every single day, right? Like how you speak, how you act, how you feel, how and where you spend your time. Like, what do your weekends look like? Like, take a second and think about that. And that's something that we're actively working on inside of our community every single week for our clients is like, yo, like, how do you want to show up? What do we need to do to serve you better? What questions do you have? What do you need help with? What goal are you trying to achieve? And let's figure out a game plan to make sure that you're seeing progress on that every single week. And like, if we keep it simple, that's basically what it is. Right? So that's the lesson that I really want to focus on today is that I've realized that in this life, there really are no secrets. Everything you need is out there already, right? Like as you're listening to this, wherever you are, there's people succeeding at exactly what you want to do right now in this very moment. As you listen to this stream podcast, there are people in this world who are absolutely crushing it in the field, doing the thing that you've always wanted to do, but oftentimes we're reluctant to take that leap and have that courage to bet on ourselves and do the things that we really want. And I get it. It's scary. I was fucking terrified when I first started. You know, I was told to go live, you know, a few times a week for months. And I didn't because I was like, oh my God, I'm not a good public speaker. I don't think I can do this. And eventually I was just like, fuck it. You know, like I'm going to make this happen because if I sit in my comfort zone and make excuses, then I'm guaranteed to not get the result. And when you think about that for a second, that applies to fucking everything. Right? That applies to everything, regardless of what it is and what you're looking to achieve. If you just put your head down and actually block out the noise and you get serious on your goals and then you take deliberate action on that every single week, then why can't you accomplish them? Right? Like, let that sink in for a second. Really listen to what we're talking about here. And if you need to, go and rewind when you're listening to this podcast and just allow yourself to grasp the concepts that we're talking about in today's episode, because I truthfully believe it could change your life. What do we think? Christy, thank you for tuning in. Cindy, hey, from Oklahoma. Let's go. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you're getting value so far. If you are, let me know in the comments below. Drop some fire because we're going to wrap this up here in just a second. Like I said, your boy has got to bounce. So guys, to recap today's episode, I really just want you to take one piece of actionable information and then go apply that into your life. Because here's the thing, if you really want to see massive change in all aspects, whether that be fitness, business, relationships, it doesn't matter. You have to understand that it all starts with you. It starts with you, your beliefs. And like I said earlier, those can be changed. Right? Like just because you've been operating a certain way, it doesn't mean you can't change that. The problem is that you don't believe that. Right? And I'm pausing there for that to really hit you. Because oftentimes that's the reality of the situation. It's not that you're not capable. It's not that you're not smart. You just don't believe that you're capable of doing those things. So you choose to settle. You choose to take the easy route, the path of least resistance. And then what that leads to is just a place of comfort, mediocrity. And then you look back and you're like, fuck, well, I wish I did XYZ, but I never did. And for me, that's a driving factor because I never, ever, ever want to say that. When I'm older, when I look back on my life, I truthfully want to say with 100%, man, I gave it all I fucking had. I left it all on the table. I wouldn't change a fucking thing. And so far, you know, listen, we're human beings. We all have regrets. I'm not perfect, but so far where I'm at, I will say that I'm really happy with what I've been able to do. And I want to encourage and inspire as many people as I can to do the same freaking thing. So the last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with today is this is something that's also helped me change, like off topic, but it is kind of in the same realm. Take some time to be alone. You know, like if you could really be okay with being alone and get deep about what you truly want. And then from there, if you're able to write up a game plan and ask yourself consistently, what can I do today that's going to get me closer to my goals? Well, if you stay on track with that for weeks, months, years at a time, then why can't you accomplish the results that you want in your life? And it can be very simple if you allow it to be. So guys, with that being said, that is all I have for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you go and take action on the things that we spoke about today. Peace, love, and protein. We'll see you in the next episode. Have the best day of your motherfucking life. Peace. That was a good one. I'm coming at you guys with the different tone of voice because I want to make sure that we're doing this damn thing. But appreciate y'all tuning in. I got to bounce. Have the best day ever, and we will talk soon.